let's go back in time a little bit. So I know we're talking about future, but I think you can't really do future right if we haven't set up context. So let's go back. I don't know. I got my MBA in 2005. So let's just go back to 2005. As best as you can remember, or even trying to paint that picture, what was leadership all about in 2005? What would you say are some of the hallmarks of that style of leadership, or maybe kind of our prior generations of leadership?
I think that's a neat time capsule exercise, Brandon. I would say that at that point, we still had a pretty conventional notion of leadership, where the CEO or top executives are supposed to be decisive. They're supposed to be charismatic. They're probably extroverts, comfortable talking to large groups of people and thinking on their feet. And they probably are pretty comfortable giving directions, really kind of seeing themselves as the main decider of things. As your listeners well know, it's also a very male-dominant time, which has been changing over time. But it's probably, I think we still have less than 5% female CEOs in the Fortune 100, say. So it's going to be a pretty, something of a boys' club at that top as well.
Okay.
And a very white one, just to put another observation on it.
Yeah. So we've got these kind of white male leaders, charismatic, decisive. I put down kind of like central decider, like they're going to make they're going to be the decision maker. They're going to make that decision.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of how it was. Now let's get up to maybe the point you started doing research. When did this start to change? When did you start to notice a change, see a change? And what were some of the things that started to change?
I would say in the last 5 years or so, there's been some sea changes, some big changes underway in leadership. And we at Great Place to Work did a study of leadership in 2018 as we were putting together our book called A Great Place to Work for All. And we saw that there were some real changes going on in the world that led to leadership having to change. And when I think about the changes in the world that were significant, I like to sum them up with 3 F's. It's a faster world, it's a flatter world, and it's a more fairness-focused world. By the faster one, I'm talking about digital transformation, disruptions in all kinds of industries that can happen overnight practically, where you can have threats and opportunities that surface quickly. The flatter world is related to that because businesses are realizing they have to distribute authority more and allow people throughout the organizations to respond in real time to threats and opportunities. So you can't wait. It's too slow to wait to send information up to that central decider we just talked about and have him send a direction back down. You got to really let your people have authority to decide and trust them. And then the fairness focus piece really has to do with the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, the focus on LGBTQ folks, and the realization we haven't really had a just world, and nor has our business world been just fully either. And so leaders have got to account for all these changes and really adapt to this world. And what we learned is that the resulting skills and criteria for success have really changed.
You lay those out, and I hear it, and I say, "Oh yeah, of course, it makes perfect sense." But then when I start to combine them in my head, I think to myself, "That's really hard. That's a really hard task."
Yeah.
I think about our friends in private equity. I've worked a lot with private equity leaders. Private equity leaders move very fast, very, very fast. Fairness is not necessarily top of mind for them, at least from in terms of social justice. They're all about performance. I mean, I don't want to put this in a negative category, but a lot of those things around that have to do with politics, some of those issues, They are not interested in that. It's what have you done for me lately? And if you deliver this month, you still have your job. You don't deliver this month, you're fired. That's how private equity works. So that makes sense when we think about faster and flatter, right? We've got to move fast. But now we've got to consider all these other components that are more about, humanity and treating people fairly. Mm-hmm. And yet performance is accelerating.
Welding together practical insights and powerful conversations to forge world-class leaders. This is the Leadership Foundry Podcast.